Tyson Pedro returned to the Octagon in April after a 4-year layoff, winning his comeback fight via KO. And he followed that win up with another dominant performance this past weekend, stopping Harry Hunsucker inside 1 round to reignite a career that seemed to be over due to injury. Today, we're discussing Pedro's return to the Octagon, as he's been training with Israel Adesanya. Stay right where you are. Let's jump straight in then. What has Pedro been saying? Australia's Tyson Pedro has his eyes set on the upper echelons of the UFC's light heavyweight division. Having just returned from a 4-year injury-strewn layoff, Pedro easily dispatched Harry Hunsucker at UFC 278 this past weekend. The big Aussie suffered a prolonged layoff after his defeat to Shogun Rua back in 2018. But in the build-up to the Hunsucker bout this weekend, he spoke of how much he's missed the sport, especially getting punched in the head after being subjected to the lengthy layoff. There was high hopes surrounding the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt after beating Khalil Roundtree and Paul Craig in his first 2 UFC fights, but he soon ran into trouble in the form of Ilir Latifi, also losing to OSP and Shogun during his early UFC career. However, a prolonged spell on the sidelines beckoned after tearing his ACL. Then, suffering setback after setback, his return to the top promotion couldn't have gone any better, as he made his triumphant comeback in April, knocking out Ike Villanueva in the process, and he revealed last week that he knew he was supposed to be back in the UFC, following up his win against Villanueva with another dominant performance this past weekend. Before the fight, he revealed that there wasn't enough time in the interview to explain just how difficult the last 4 years have been, before saying, "I love everything about going in there and trying to physically put another man down." What else did Pedro have to say then? Let's discuss. Well, he revealed that he relishes the whole process, the lead up to the fight, the strategy surrounding it, figuring out his approach, and everything else that comes along with trying to beat a man in hand-to-hand combat, saying, "Every aspect of fighting, I just love it." He then went on to say that not being able to do something you love for 4 years was incredibly hard. And if the impression he made on the commentators over his past 2 fights is anything to go by, it seems as though he is back to enjoying himself. After his fight in April, he admitted to wanting to carry on once the referee had called the bout, explaining that emotions got the better of him, but it seems as though he has now calmed a little, as in the build-up to the fight last weekend, he admitted to wanting to get the fight out of the way so that he could get back home to his daughter. Pedro's wife gave birth to the couple's first child, Giselle Grace, last year, and of course Tyson is still in the honeymoon period and is smitten with the baby. He said, "She just turned a year old last Friday, and this camp has been 3 months. The camp before that was 3 months, so 6 months of her year in life." What do you make of Pedro's words? Let us know below. Tyson was also discussing his training. Stay with us to hear about it. Like many other fighters, Pedro suggested that he fights to give his family a better life. However, he lamented the time he has to spend away from the family in order to provide, saying, "It's hard to say that I'm a family man when I've been away for 6 months, but they're the most important thing to me. More than anything, nothing means anything without them." Revealing that he only wants to be in the sport for another 5 years or so to avoid becoming punch drunk, Tyson alluded to the fact that he doesn't want his daughter to see him as an ill man in later life. A current middleweight king, Israel Adesanya, whom Pedro trains with, was on hand to give his thoughts on kangaroo paws, saying, "Seeing what he had to go through, he hurt his knee, came back, getting ready for a fight, hurt it again, having to go through that, months and months and months of being discouraged, but having to get yourself back up, and that's what I really take away from his journey, is his mental resilience and his toughness." I mean, that sort of experience would be enough to test any man. So it is a testament to Pedro that he has come through the other side. Adesanya then went on to praise Pedro for a beautiful return to action earlier this year. Before predicting he was about to do it again, he was proven right. What do you make of Izzy's words? What else did Adesanya have to say then? Stick around to hear all about it. Well, the current middleweight champ was effusive in his praise for Big Tyson after seeing firsthand what he had been through, and he clearly believes in his teammate, Adesanya claimed that Pedro's destiny is now in his own hands, saying, "The story is still being written. It's up to him to write that story," and of course, he's right. The light heavyweight division isn't what it used to be given the absence of John Jones, and with Tyson given a new lease on life in the UFC, he could easily make a run at the crown. And Izzy revealed how it's great having Pedro around the gym after his permanent move to New Zealand. Of course, Adesanya is a similar weight, so he can use Pedro as a top-class training partner for his own fights. Going on to praise Tyson's jiu-jitsu skills before saying, "I get to get my grappling on with him and learn from him and pick his brain a little bit." Of course, Adesanya is known primarily for his striking, so having such a high-level grappler around the gym will help his own all-around game massively. Izzy then went on to say Pedro is just a really good guy to have around, revealing he's funny and very easy to hang out with. And speaking about his decision to relocate, Pedro claimed the decision was easy once he had checked the gym out, saying, "I just knew I needed to be back here. I love it." Next up, Izzy has spoken about his close friend's title hurt over weekend. As you will know by now, Kamaru Usman was dethroned at UFC 278 as Leon Edwards landed a head kick from hell to knock the champion out in the last round. Izzy and Kamaru are pretty tight these days and have bonded over their shared Nigerian heritage. So when his friend was left KO'd on the canvas on Saturday night, it came as something of a shock to Stylebender. Usman had seemed to be cruising to victory, but it only takes a second in this sport, and Edwards was able to capitalize, throwing up the well-timed head kick. Adesanya wasn't in attendance, but was streaming himself watching the fights. When the head kick landed, he was instantly silent, but when it eventually sunk in, he said, "Oh man, I was saying the parry, he parried too low, expletive, in the expletive last round. Language please, Mr. Adesanya." Izzy and Edwards actually share the same management team, so Stylebender quickly shouted out their manager, Tim, who he sounded legitimately happy for. He said, "As much as I'm happy for Leon, I'm more happy for Tim Simpson. Because Tim, our manager, I know how much this meant to him. It's bittersweet. I'm so happy for Leon and Tim. But then I'm so sad for Kamaru. But then also I know, like the rematch, they're going to have a rematch clause or something, so I know it's going to be in there." What did you make of the knockout? And finally, could Izzy be making his way to heavyweight? Just like his mate Kamaru Usman, who has been talking about moving up to light heavyweight recently, Adesanya believes that one day he might be able to make a splash in the heavyweight division, even if most MMA observers do not. His manager Tim Simpson, who also manages Leon Edwards, as we previously mentioned, recently revealed that Izzy has been talking about moving up to 205 again. However, the last time he did that, he was unanimously defeated by Jen Blachowicz, so that might not be the best idea. Simpson acknowledged this fact, but then went on to say, "But I think he would be very comfortable in that division again, if that's what he wants to do." I mean, come on, this guy's supposed to be his manager, not some sycophant yes man who will only tell him what he wants to hear. Simpson went on to say, he wants to go down as the greatest of all time in that division, middleweight, and there's an opportunity to stay there and keep fighting. But the door's open to light heavyweight, even heavyweight. He's had success at heavyweight and kickboxing too. Seems highly unlikely. What do you guys think? Thanks for stopping by today, and remember to join us next time for some more fun reveals. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Bye guys.